Taylor Swift excludes Blake Lively from Super Bowl guest list after feeling used in Justin Baldoni feud. The same source, her publicist Tree Payne, also told TMZ that Swift thinks Blake had intended for Taylor to meet with Baldoni. You know, the whole entire meeting for It Ends With Us that happened at Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's penthouse in New York City. Yeah, that meeting. The one where she had already very clearly read the rewrite Blake did and goes on to pursue and intimidate Baldoni into accepting her version of it. Or, you know, she's going to pull out her dragons, which she did at that meeting. The source also revealed that the singer found it confusing when she learned Blake had referred to her as one of her dragons while calling herself Khaleesi in reference to the fantasy TV series Game of Thrones. The dragons comment appeared in alleged text exchange between Lively and Baldoni sent after their meeting. She's godmother to all three of the daughters, not the youngest, the son, whom she shares with Ryan Reynolds. And the entire 6.5 minute long voice memo that Justin Baldoni sent to Blake saying, hey, you didn't have to do that, and apologizing to her for her past bad experiences with other directors and filmmakers. Yeah, he said you didn't have to do that, meaning that she did not have to stage that at her and Ryan Reynolds' penthouse in New York City for Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds to be there at the meeting to basically tell Justin Baldoni through physical intimidation as well as mental and emotional and verbal intimidation of, oh, you don't want to be listed as somebody who's a bad filmmaker or bad director who's going to cause us PTSD in me like I had in the past. She's now using her dragons to intimidate him physically with, look, they're sitting here praising my rewrite. He's telling her in that memo that he is apologetic for what these people have done to her in the past and that she didn't need to do that. I would have loved the rewrite because of you, because it's good, because I liked it and it works very well for the film. You didn't have to stage that. You didn't have to have Taylor and Ryan there to convince me to accept your rewrite of the rooftop scene. And that's essentially what that entire 6.5 minute long voice memo is all about. But like I have gone over before, Taylor Swift and Blake Lively have been friends for over 10 years, and Taylor Swift is the godmother to all three of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' daughters, their first three children. She is not godmother to the youngest, who is their son. But we all knew that Taylor Swift was immediately going to start putting these seeds through her publicist and her PR team into the media, basically backing away, because that's the first article we saw that they were backing away. Now she's saying she feels used. Now she snubs Blake Lively when it comes to her Super Bowl box and potentially watching the game, which of course, you know, the Chiefs are playing against the Eagles at the Super Bowl, and they have won twice before. So Blake Lively was definitely snubbed by her very, very dear closest friend, of which she gave the honor of being godmother to 3 of her 4 children, all of her daughters. I told you when it came down to Taylor Swift's public reputation that she wants you to believe and that she wants you to think she really is, and it comes to a friendship, she's going to be just like Meghan Markle or Amber Heard or anybody else, and she's going to drop that friendship. Mark my words. You can save this and come back to it. But let's talk about how many times Taylor Swift has been sued for plagiarism. In fact, she'll pay out over $10 million to keep people quiet because the song Shake It Off, she took it from somebody else's song, Play Is Gonna Play. In fact, she even uses that. Oh yeah, let's not even get into those details, right? Of who she really is and how she really operates behind the scenes. Because the 25-minute long secret phone call between her and Kanye didn't tell you enough of what she's really like. And even the phrase, haters gonna hate and players are gonna play, even though that's commonly said, that was in a song that she plagiarized. That was an accidental plagiarism. That wasn't one of the 4 types of plagiarism. She literally took it. She plagiarized it outright. And she settled for over $10 million because she knows she did. But let's talk about how she really, really was suing Olivia Rodrigo, and they were able to settle it. But For Deja Vu, 1 step forward, 3 steps back. She and Jack Antonoff, who writes and produces all of Taylor Swift's last 5 albums, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can technically say 12 if you consider the Tortured Poets Department to be 2 albums, because essentially it is a double album. But it's actually Jack Antonoff that is the genius behind Taylor Swift's songs. He is the one who is producing, who's putting it all together, who's doing a lot of the writing. And he also did Lana Del Rey's album, and Sabrina Carpenter, but he's also credited as a songwriter because Taylor Swift's songs are not written just by her. They're solely comprised and produced and everything by Jack Antonoff. Taylor Swift knows how important he is to her career because without him, she couldn't do it. She'd have to find another producer to help write everything, the music and the words. But talk about suppressing young, developing, and just signed female artists, right? Because nobody did this to Taylor in 2005. But it's okay for her to do it to Olivia Rodrigo or others. And let's not mention what she did to the 2024 Grammys by taking Lana Del Rey, forcing her up on stage with Jack Antonoff. And remember that goes from the prior year, okay? Remember, Celine Dion was giving her Grammy. One of the Grammys was being presented by Celine Dion. She forces Lana Del Rey up there because Lana Del Rey's album was also in the same category and Taylor Swift beat her for it. But Jack Antonoff produced both the albums. That's why they drag him up. This is the biggest sociopathic, narcissistic thing you could do to your friend, is force them up there and then talk about how they're this legendary artist who is in her prime right now, and she's so lucky to be her friend, and you feel that she deserved to have that award. Why didn't you rescind the award and give it to her on that stage? Because it was a ha-ha. My album won, yours didn't, and we have the same person producing and writing both of our albums, Jack Antonoff, but it was mine who won. Because if you really felt that way, you would say, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be given this, but I'm going to give it to her because I feel she had the better album and was more deserving of it. And of course, unlike Taylor Swift, Lana Del Rey does not have the money to purchase that many Grammys. And that's exactly what she did. But while she's talking about how she's a legendary artist who has done all of these decades of work for girls, she overlooked the fact that the true legend was right before her face, Celine Dion. Literally, a woman who speaks 2 languages and is international since she was 12 years old. She speaks English and French. She has done albums, multiple albums in both. And she has performed not only in Quebec, Montreal, and other places in Canada, in the United States, and in France before she ever made it huge. And then she goes on in front of an entire room of all of her peers who are equally working just as hard on their own movies and their own music and their own scores to use the Grammy stage to announce her next album, taking away the spotlight from all of her peers who are working just as hard and would never do that. And starting in 2024, the Grammys have now implemented new rules. One of them being that you cannot purchase the votes of the Academy with gifts, with money, benefit, or anything else in exchange for votes. And that's why you've seen Taylor Swift couldn't buy her Grammy this year. And she won nothing. But let's not talk about how she explicitly has dropped 78 different variants of one album to maximize her monetization and capitalization off of one double album. But she's done it specifically on the day that Billie Eilish's album was dropping. And she did that on purpose to suppress her sales and her charts. When Billie does everything she can to be more sustaining, she goes on to accept Woman of the Decade and does an entire speech and makes it all about herself and how she paved the way for Billie.
But my exact quote during the speech was, is somewhere right now, your future Woman of the Year is probably sitting in a piano lesson or in a girls' choir. And today, right now, we need to take care of her. I've since learned that at that exact moment, an 11-year-old girl in California, really was taking piano lessons and really was in a girls' choir. And this year, she has been named Woman of the Year at the age of 17. Her name is Billie.